everybody, welcome to another lesson of learning Japanese. This video is going to be our very first vocabulary video. So to give it a kind of special feel to it, we are going to do a theme. And the theme that we have for this video is going to be Pokemon. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the names of Pokemon in their original Japanese and see what that means, and along the way we'll learn some new vocabulary because a lot of these names are very punny, so they use words and take advantage of those words' meanings to make some kind of silly sounding name. And so we're going to add those new words that we learned to a vocabulary list, and then by the end of this whole video we'll have a whole list of vocabulary that is thematic of Pokemon names in Japanese. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover the first 51 Pokemon, because if we did any more than that, the video would probably be crazy long. I'm not even sure if we can fit 50 of them into this video without making it a 2-digit duration. So we might cut it short, but let's give it a try. So without further ado, here are the names of Pokemon in their original Japanese and what they mean. So of course, we are going to start off our list here with the first Pokemon numerically. So the number 1 Pokemon. And what is the number 1 Pokemon? Well, if you don't know, now you're about to know. It is Bulbasaur. Damn, Bulbasaur looking bulby there. So what is Bulbasaur's name in Japanese? It is fushigi tane. And this is going to be a pun, but it's also going to be a double entendre because fushigi is the Japanese word for kind of mysterious or strange, and the word is tane, which is going to turn into dane because of the hardening of the sound there, because it's the second word in the compound word. That is going to mean seed. So literally, Bulbasaur's name is going to be like miracle seed or strange seed or something along those lines. And the double entendre here is no, not the fact that miracle seed could be interpreted as a sexual innuendo, but that it is the phrasing fushigi dane is kind of how you say in Japanese, isn't it? So fushigi means strange, then we have the da, which is a copula that ends the sentence, then ne is kind of this sentence ending particle that kind of asks for affirmation or kind of slightly subtly asks a question. So fushigi dane is going to be like, isn't that strange or isn't it strange? Alright, moving on, we are going to our number 2 Pokemon. That's just going to be the evolution of Bulbasaur, which is Ivysaur. And so we see in English that the Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, and Venusaur all have that "saur" at the end of the name to kind of be a suffix that means dinosaur. It's going to be the same thing in Japanese, except for it's going to be the first word, kind of the prefix that stays for all 3 of the names, and that's going to be the word fushigi, which means strange or mysterious. So we have fushigi again, but Ivysaur's name in full is going to be Fushigi Soul, and this is going to be basically just mystery grass or miracle grass. So based on that, you probably would have guessed already, but yeah, soul means grass. Now let's move on to number 3, which is Venusaur, the final evolution. Venusaur's name is going to be Fushigi Bana, and this is going to be the literal translation is going to be mysterious or miracle flower. And so obviously that's because the little bulb on its back finally bloomed into something. So flower means flower. So Fushigi Bana, that's going to be the hardening of hana, which means flower, and it changes that ha into a ba. So yeah, miracle flower. So that's the whole evolution right there for Bulbasaur. Let's move on into fire territory. And so number 4 Pokemon, we have what the hell is his name? I'm blanking. Someone help me. Charmander. So Charmander's name in English is pretty darn good. I like it. It's pretty cute. Charmander. In Japanese, it's kind of less creative and less cute sounding. It's going to be the title Hitokage, and this is going to be a combination of the word fire, which is going to be he, then tokage, which is going to mean lizard. So this is literally translating to fire lizard, which is not as catchy as Charmander, you gotta admit. But if you don't think that's catchy, just wait until we get to the next part, and we have Charmeleon, which is gonna be in Japanese Lizardo, and this is gonna be the literal word for the English word lizard. Japanese uses loan words, so it kind of takes words from other countries and filters it through its katakana language. So lizard turns into Lizardo, and this is literally lizard. So this guy's freaking name is Lizard. So I don't know what happened. So he went from a fire lizard, he evolved into a regular lizard. When we get to Charizard, one of the most famous Pokemon. We get in Japanese Lizardon, and this is going to basically just be lizard again, Lizardo, and this is going to add the character n at the end of that because the Dawn, I think this is just my speculation, but this is kind of a reference to kind of like kaiju movies, I believe, in which a couple of the kaiju names would end with Dawn, so that kind of became a suffix for kind of huge monsters, I guess. That's what I'm guessing. So we're in water territory now, and we have the last of the starting Pokemon. So we have Squirtle. In Japanese, he is called Zenigame. In Japanese, this is the word for basically immature Japanese pond turtles. So it's kind of just using a pretty normal Japanese word as a name, not too unique or anything. When we move on to the evolution War Turtle, we retain the word kame, which means turtle, and his name is going to be Kameru. And this is going to be kind of a portmanteau of the word kame, which means turtle, plus the English word tail in Japanese, so teru or something like that. So you combine those and you get Kameru, and this is going to obviously denote that he grows that little fluffy tail out of his shell, but I don't think it's too cool of a name, to be honest. Next up, we have the last evolution, Blastoise, which is a super duper cool name in English, in my opinion. The Japanese name doesn't sound as cool, but in my opinion, it by its definition, it is kind of cool. Blastoise's name in Japanese is Kamekusu. And so this is another portmanteau using the word kame, which means turtle, plus the English word maximum in katakana. So you get kamekusu, and this is gonna literally mean maximum turtle, basically. I think the idea fits because when he grows those giant freaking rocket launchers, you kind of get the feeling of, you know, going maximum, going freaking hard in that. Next up, we are hitting the double digits, and we're out of starter Pokemon territory, so our number 10 is Caterpie, and believe it or not, the name Caterpie is actually the same in Japanese because they just kept the original Japanese name. So Caterpie is going to be basically just the Japanese katakana word for caterpillar, plus the sound P because I think they're just trying to make it sound cute. So Caterpie is going to be the same in Japanese and English. When Caterpie evolves, in Japanese it gets a really weird name, and that is Toransaru, and this is going to be a combination of two words, two English words once again taken and put into Japanese, the word trance and the word cell. So the little caterpillar goes into a trance and turns into Metapod. Then Metapod evolves and it turns into Butterfree in English. In Japanese, it turns into Butterfree as well because the English name took from the original Japanese name again. It's a combination of the word butterfly in katakana plus the English word free. Next up, we got our boy Beedle. His name's pretty similar in Japanese. It's actually going to be Beedle. And this is going to be a combination of the word bee plus the word needle. Both of those are in katakana Japanese, so basically it's using the original English word. So Japanese takes from two English words, bee and needle, turns into that Japanese name Beedoru. When Weedle evolves, he turns into Kakuna, but in Japanese it's gonna be more simply Cocoon. And this is obviously going to be the English word cocoon in katakana Japanese. So a lot of katakana going on here. We kind of continue this chain of not too imaginative names. With Beedrill in Japanese, his name is just going to be Supia, and this is going to be the English word spear in katakana Japanese. Next up, we have Pidgey, one of the most common Pokemon in the games and whatnot. In Japanese, his name is going to be Poppo, and this is it's just supposed to be an onomatopoeic word. It's the word that, or it's the sound that pigeons make, according to Japanese. Pidgey evolves into Pidgeotto, which is one of the most badass names in Pokemon, in my opinion. In Japanese, not so much, because Pidgeotto in Japanese is just gonna be Pigeon. And yeah, it's just the English word pigeon in katakana Japanese once again. So I said Pidgeotto is one of the coolest names in Pokemon, but to be fair, they might have taken that from the Japanese naming of Pidgeot, which is Pidgeotto. And this is going to basically be the word pigeon in Japanese katakana, plus the English word jet in Japanese katakana as well. So combine pigeon and jet and you get Pidgeotto. And funny enough, when you pronounce that, it sounds both like Pidgeotto and Pidgeot, kind of. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Moving on, we have Rattata, and one of the most annoying Pokemon in the whole compendium of Pokemon. In Japanese, his name is going to be Korata, and this is going to be the word or the character for small, ko, plus just rat in Japanese katakana probably. So korata is going to be small rat literally. Moving on, we have Raticate, which is a perfectly fine name in English, but in Japanese it's just gonna be rata, and that's pretty lame. So basically the small rat, Ratata, evolves into Rata, which is just regular rat. So nothing too special there. Moving on, we're still in bird territory with number 21, which is Sparrow. In Japanese, his name is going to be Oni Suzume. And this is going to be a combination of the word Oni, which means basically demon or ogre or something along those lines, plus Suzume, which is going to mean sparrow. So Sparrow's name in Japanese, Oni Suzume, is going to literally translate to basically demon sparrow, which is pretty intense. He doesn't look too intimidating, but when you move on to his evolution, Firo does look pretty darn intimidating. He's pretty scary. His name is going to be Oni Doriru, and this is going to be Oni again, which is going to mean ogre or demon or something along those lines, plus Doriru, which is going to mean drill in English, turned into Japanese katakana, so that will be basically demon drill. And you can probably see here how they kind of attempt to retain that feeling of intimidation or fear in the English translation when they change it to Firo. Let's move on. We got number 23, Ekans in English. Little trivia here is that this is just basically snake spelled backwards, and you might have been going, wow, that is really uncreative and lame. Well, they were just mimicking the Japanese original, in which Ekan's name in Japanese is Abo, and this is basically just boa backwards. The English word boa, which is a type of snake, of course. It is split into Japanese characters. So Bo is the first character and A is the second character. Then they flip those to turn it backwards, and that just turns into Abo. And that's going to be Ekans in Japanese. So literally just backwards boa. Then we move on to Ekan's evolution, which is Arbok. And that's going to be Cobra backwards. And they actually took that from the Japanese. So the Japanese is also going to be Cobra backwards in the Japanese kind of way of spelling it or whatever, and that's going to be Aboku. Moving on, we have number 25, which is the mascot of Pokemon, basically Pikachu. This is actually in due credit to the Japanese naming. This is taken from the Japanese original naming, and so Pikachu is also Pikachu in Japanese. This is a combination of the onomatopoeic word pika, which is kind of used to describe something bright or sparkling, plus the onomatopoeic word chuu, which is kind of what the Japanese language has designated the sound that mice make. So mice scamper around and they go choo. So combine those two together, Pikachu, and that will kind of literally translate to sparkling mouse noise or something. We move on to Raichu, and this is also taken from the original Japanese, which is Raichu. And this is going to be replacing Pika with another word that resembles or has a theme of lightning or thunder. That's going to be Rai, and that is, well, quite literally the word for thunder. The Chuu here is going to stay the same, so this is literally going to translate to something like thunder mouse noise. Moving on to number 27, we got Sandshrew in Japanese, contender for most unoriginal name. It's going to be Sando, and this is just going to be the Japanese katakana word for the English word sand. Evolve that bad boy into Sand Slash. In Japanese, that's going to be Sandopan. And this is actually going to not be a portmanteau of sand plus panda. Trick you there, it's actually a portmanteau of sand and pandolin, which is a type of creature that Sandshrew resembles. Next up, we got a pretty large family, starting with Nidoran, and I kind of subconsciously pronounced that in a somewhat Japanese way because the English word Nidoran, or the English name for Nidoran, is the same in Japanese, so it's going to be Nidoran. And so this is going to be a portmanteau of the word English word needle in katakana plus, I don't know what the second one is actually, ran. Next up, for number 30, we have Nidorina, and this is going to be in Japanese also Nidorina. And this is a combination of the word needle plus the word bambina, which is indicative of female. You evolved that bad girl into Nidoqueen, and in Japanese that's the same, Nidoqueen, and this is going to be Nido plus queen, basically. Moving on, we have Nidoran again, this time male, so let's skip that. After he evolves, he turns into Nidorino. And once again, this is taking from the Japanese Nidorino, and this is going to be Nido plus Bambino, which is going to be indicative of male. Let's go through an evolution with this guy, and then we get Nidoking, and in Japanese it's also Nidokingu. And of course, this is a combination of the word Nido and King. Next up, number 35, we got Clefairy, and this is a cool name in English. In Japanese, it's a bit more simple. It's just gonna be PP. And apparently this is going to be a word that's sometimes used for describing fairies, hence the localization of clef fairy. But it's also going to be the onomatopoeic sound of fingers being waved. So since that's what the Pokemon do, canonically speaking, I guess they were named after that. Moving on, we have Clefable, the evolution of Clefairy. In Japanese, Clefable's name is Pikushi, and this is going to be just the katakana word for the English word pixie. Next up, we have Vulpix, which, wow, it's actually a really creative name for English. Sounds really cool. But in Japanese, Vulpix's name is going to be Rokon. So Rokon is going to be a combination of the counter for 6, so ro, then the onomatopoeic word for a fox's cry, which is going to be kon. So translated literally, that's kind of like 6 fox cries, but of course the 6 actually refers to the number of tails it has, plus a fox cry, which is indicative of a fox, so fox with 6 tails basically. When we evolve that guy into 9 tails, in Japanese it's going to be Q-kon, and this is just basically 9 instead of 6 now, Q, and plus kon again. Next up we have Jigglypuff. In Japanese, Jigglypuff's name is going to be pudding. The Japanese word pudding is used to describe something pretty, but also something, well, it's literally the word for pudding as well, but sometimes instead of actually meaning pudding, it can be used to describe something smooth or soft like pudding. So Jigglypuff's name in Japanese is literally something, depending on how you interpret it, pretty pudding. Moving on to Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff's name in Japanese is Pukurin. I have no idea what this means. Moving on to number 41, I might have been wrong about Rattata being the most annoying Pokemon. This guy might be the most annoying one. This is Zubat. In Japanese, his name is also Zubato. This is the word bat, of course, to describe it actually being a bat, but this also might be a reference to a 1970s superhero TV show in which one of the main character was called Zubat. When Zubat evolves, it turns into Golbat. In Japanese, it's also Gorubato. This is, of course, the word gold plus bat, but this is also possibly a reference to a very old fictional character that was called the Golden Bat. This is like 1930s, and this character is considered the first Japanese superhero actually. So Golden Bat is what this is referring to. For our next Pokemon, we have Oddish. In Japanese, Oddish is going to be Nazo no kusa. So this is a combination of 2 Japanese words: the word Nazo, which is going to mean like puzzle or mystery or riddle, and the word kusa, which is going to mean grass. So together this is going to be kind of mystery grass. It's a pretty psychedelic name in English. I feel like they kind of try to retain that with the word odd and whatever ish means, that odd-ish. Yeah, we're going to evolve that oddish, and we're gonna get glue. In Japanese, it's going to translate to kusai hana. This is also a combination of 2 native Japanese words: kusai, which is going to be the adjective that means smelly or stinky, plus hana, which we covered before with Venusaur, which was fushigi bana. This is hana, which means flower. So kusai hana is going to be stinky flower. We move on, we evolve Gloom into Vileplume, and we're back with English being the more creative version, because in Japanese, Vileplume is just going to be Rafuresia, and this is going to be the katakana word for the name Rafflesia. Am I pronouncing that right? Rafflesia? Rafflesia? But yeah, that's just the flower that is pretty famous for being really, really stinky. So Vileplume is a really cool name in my opinion. The katakana version of the word Rafflesia, not too much. Next up we have Paris. This is actually going to be from the Japanese. It's called Parasu, and this is going to be kind of a short version of the word parasite in katakana. That guy evolves, he turns to Parasect. This is also the Japanese name, Parasecto, and this is going to be a combination of the word parasite, but this time we add on the word insect into that. So parasite plus insect, parasite insect. Next up, we move on to Venonat. In Japanese, this guy's name is going to be Konpan, and this is actually katakana for the word compound, and this is referring to apparently its compound eyes. Evolve Venonat, and you get Venomoth, or perhaps maybe not. You might want to look into that conspiracy theory about Venomoth being the evolution of Caterpie. Yeah, check that. But yeah, Venomoth's name in Japanese is going to be Morphone. And this is going to be a weird name. It is a combination of the word morph and phone in katakana. I don't know why though. So literally Venomoth's name in Japanese is Morphone. So he's a morphing phone apparently. Now we're hitting number 50 and we have Diglett. In Japanese, his name is going to be Diguda. And translated literally, this is basically just the word dig, then the past tense version of it, dug. So dig dug, and this is probably a reference to the Japanese game Dig Dug, which was pretty popular back in the day. When Diglett evolves, it turns into Dugtrio. This is actually the name in Japanese as well. So Diguda is going to evolve into Dagutorio. And this is pretty obviously just the word dug and the word trio in Japanese katakana. Alright, so those were the first, not 50, but 51 Pokemon because we didn't want to include Diglett, then just take out its evolution form Dugtrio. So we went 1 to 51. We've assembled a pretty decent vocabulary list of native Japanese words. There were a lot of katakana in those names, so unfortunately those took away from having this vocabulary list being longer, but we'll go with the next 50 in another video. Hopefully we'll get some more vocabulary terms that are good to know. And so yeah, hopefully you learned a decent amount of new words. We'll include the vocabulary list either in the description, unless it's too long to be included in the description. It'll also be on our website, so click on the link to that in the description or on this video to check that out. So which did you think sounded cooler? The English names for the Pokemon or the Japanese names for the Pokemon? I think, personally, I'm going to go with the English in this tier of Pokemon, 1 to 51. Just a lot of really cool sounding English names we have in the first 51. We got, shoot, I'm blanking. Vileplume is a cool name. Charizard, of course, sounds way cooler. Blastoise, Venusaur. You know, these names actually sound like they are names of things and not just descriptions. So yeah, sorry, this is the Learning Japanese channel, but I gotta give it to the English this time around. We'll do the next video with the next 50 or so, and we'll see how the score evens out, if it evens out at all, or English takes a very leading point. So yeah, tune in next time for another lesson of learning Japanese. Hope you had fun and enjoyed this video.